I was wrong about Procreate. Kind of. Let's discuss. Hey, it's me, Sleepy, and welcome back to another video. If my voice sounds weird, it's because I'm recovering from something. I'm not sure if it was a cold or just allergies, but something. Now, let's discuss. What was I wrong about? What do I mean when I say I was wrong? And what do I mean when I say I was wrong, kind of? As most of you already know or have gathered, Procreate is my current art program of choice. But it wasn't always my art program of choice. My digital art journey started in about 2013 or 2014. I was in middle school and I had just discovered the wondrous world of art YouTube. I couldn't tell you what videos exactly I was watching, but I was watching a lot of videos about shows I liked. And one of those shows included Steven Universe. And that show, it had me in a chokehold. It still does, kind of, but back then, I think this was the show where I really started to realize, wow, art is something I want to do. Art is something I think I can do. I'm not going to be the best, but art is something I love to do. This also happened a bit earlier with the Spirit movie, the horse movie. That also had a bit of a chokehold. But Steven Universe had me interested in digital art. It had me interested in digital mediums. But I didn't have access to any of that, and I wasn't really aware of anything related to that stuff. So what I did instead was every day in my first period class in 6th grade, I would show people my stupid little Steven Universe OCs scribbled on notebook paper, cardstock, construction paper, literally whatever I could get my hands on. It had gotten to the point where I would take printer paper from my teachers when they weren't in the classrooms, just so I could have more paper to draw on. Now, as I mentioned, I had discovered art YouTube for the first time, really, in my entire little life. It hadn't been around long, there wasn't many people, but it was my home, essentially. Every day I would watch these YouTubers and I would sit there and draw my little notebook paper. And then one day I decided, I want to do what they're doing. I want to do digital art. I want to draw on a screen. And so on my busted up little phone, probably a tiny little Android, I downloaded IBIS. Or IBIS, however you pronounce it. This is where my journey started. Now, over the years, I've explored many programs, and some I hated, some I adored, some I was indifferent on. But eventually, I settled on my favorite program, Clip Studio Paint. All of you watching this have probably heard a lot about Clip Studio, good, bad, and in between. But I, personally, adored it. I adored it. I adored it. I cannot express this enough how much I loved that program. It felt like the stars aligned. I tried out the little free trial and it chokehold. Again, chokehold. And then I started to hear about another program making waves. And not only that, I started to hear more about digital art specifically on iPads or iPad Pros. And this was intriguing to me, but at the time, I hadn't even had my Huion screen tablet for that long, so I wasn't really interested in making a switch. I was perfectly content to just live in my little world. But over the years, I started hearing more hype about it. I started hearing more good things, and that intrigued me a little. But again, I wasn't just going to drop everything I already had just for the sake of trying out an iPad. Not that I could anyways. Have you seen the prices? This all came to a head when one day, at a family event, my cousin had brought her iPad, and I tried it out. Specifically, I tried out Procreate. By this point, I'd already made a lot of assumptions based on what my friend said, based on what I saw online. Basically, I went into this already with an opinion on Procreate. And when I left this, I didn't really change my opinion then. But again, I'd only used it for maybe an hour. And then eventually, the FOMO got me. I'm not gonna lie, the FOMO got me. I wanted it. I needed it. It was bad. It was bad. Don't be like me. Don't buy an iPad because of FOMO. But I did. And then I bought Procreate. And then I tried it out. And My assumptions and my grievances were with Procreate was that it was too simple. The brush engine wasn't powerful enough. There wasn't enough resources for different things other than like basic, art, basic sketching, basic line art, basic rendering, etc., etc. And overall, I thought it was kind of a dumbed down version of every other, digital art program. That was my opinion then. And I'm gonna say, with my entire chest, that I was wrong. Not about everything, but I was wrong about a lot of things. And I think I also misunderstood what Procreate was and what Procreate strived to do for artists. But now I know. I've been using it for about 2 years now. I bought it October of last year, I think. And like I said, I was wrong. Partially. Let's talk about what I was right about first before I get into what I misunderstood, what I didn't understand. I still think that Procreate has a not very strong brush engine. I think that Clip Studio kind of spoiled me a bit because it kind of has a brush for everything. If it's not online somewhere, then it's in the asset library, most likely. And I think Clip Studio has this reputation and it has this ability because the brush engine, it's so powerful. There's so much you can do with it. And I think Procreate doesn't have that. It just doesn't. And I've been left, feeling a bit unsatisfied at times because I miss that. I miss what Clip Studio was capable of. But at the same time, I also understand that with a mobile program, it's just not going to be as powerful as a PC one. At least not usually. Another thing I think I was right about was that Procreate has limitations in the sense that I feel like at some points, I feel like I'm being held back. And I feel like you have to do a lot of workarounds. And I think the main example of this is the layer limit. This, oh my god, I hate this. I get why it exists, but I hate it. I understand it, I hate it. And I think for most people, for the average artist, maybe it doesn't matter. But I think if you're trying to do certain things, you need to have unlimited layers. And I really had this experience when I was attempting to make a VTuber model and quickly ran out of layers, or I felt like I had to simplify my design in order to make it all work in one file. I've seen artists who do VTuber model commissions or just create VTuber models in their free time explain how they have to get around this type of thing. And honestly, I feel like this is just one of the biggest gripes that I personally have with Procreate, because I'm the type of artist that likes to use a lot of layers, and I'm the type of artist that likes to do a lot. So it's become, common for me to have to think about, oh, I can't do this in this file, or I need to do this, I need to merge this, I need to do this to make it work. And I frequently hit the layer limit. So that's something I was right about. I knew that would be an annoyance. And yeah, it is. Maybe not for most people, but it is for me. But, it's a small thing. It's an annoyance, but it's a small one. And I think my gripes with Procreate or my annoyances don't surpass the amount of praise I have to give Procreate. And with that in mind, let's get into what I was wrong about, what I was stupid about.
But before we get into that, this video is sponsored by me, no one. My coffee shop, kinda. I just want to take this small second to tell you that, or remind you that, my commissions are open. But not only that, from now until October 21st, I'll be doing 3 different Halloween or spooky season themed Your Character Here's. We have this one, and this one, and this one. And all of these are available on my copy, so if you want, some Halloween art from me, make sure to head over there and get a slot. Thank you. That was embarrassing for all of us. Let's get back to the video.
I went into Procreate complaining about the simplifications and complaining about the limitations. And then I started to think more deeply on it. And I started to think, why are these things like this? Why did they choose to make this choice? Some things I still don't understand, like the gradient maps or the lack of gradient tool. But some things I do understand. And I think overall, what I misunderstood with Procreate was that Procreate is for convenience. Procreate wants to make your art life easier. And I think when people think they want to make art easy, I think they get into this mentality of cheating or cutting corners. And I think some people have this toxic mentality that that's a bad thing, that it's bad for art to be easy, that it's bad for art to be simple. And I'm not sure if this just comes from a place of, bitterness, where people are like, I worked years for this. Why is this easy? Why are they cutting corners? Art shouldn't be easy. And I just think it's a bit flawed. It's a flawed mentality to have. And, maybe I could get into that in another video. But I feel like Procreate aims to not do that. I don't think art should be hard for you. I don't think your life should be harder. I don't think programs should be harder to understand. Clip Studio has the reputation for being a kind of hard to understand program. You open it and you can be overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. I figured it out eventually, but I also understand why some people couldn't and why they chose Procreate over Clip Studio. I also think that Procreate cares. I think they care about artists, and I think they care about art. Are they perfect? No art program is perfect. If every art program was perfect, we wouldn't have a billion of them. But I think in a time where art is commodified and taken advantage of, and artists in general are treated like absolute garbage by the people who hire us, by the people we work for, by the people who are supposed to respect us to some degree, by technology in general. We live in a world where AI is a threat to a lot of artists. I think Procreate is a program that cares about making art easier, but not in the same way that AI does. I think they want to make art accessible in a way. They don't want to make it overwhelming. And I think when I went into this and I saw how simple the layout was, I think I misunderstood it, and I think I misrepresented it, and I think I just assumed, why should this be so simple? I think I assumed that it was just dumbing everything down. And maybe it is dumbing things down, but I think that's good. I think that means that more people can get into art, and I think more people can get into Procreate easier. I think there's less of a learning curve than most art programs. I think, honestly, Procreate is simpler than even, Ibis. I think it has that advantage, and I think I misunderstood why it was made that way, because I came from Clip Studio or other programs I, experienced before that. And I think the biggest thing that I was wrong about was this, that simple, is best sometimes. I think I was wrong about that. And I think I also just misunderstood the appeal. I think I went into this seeing all the TikTok and YouTube videos about Procreate, and I think I thought, this is kind of dumb, this is kind of silly, this is kind of stupid, when that's just not the case. Because again, Procreate is for convenience, and I think that's its biggest, perk. I think that it's its biggest strength. It's convenience, not just within the art program, but within the system it operates on. Procreate, whether you have it on your iPad or you have it on your iPhone, is convenient. That in itself makes it more convenient. It's so much more convenient to lug around an iPad than it is to lug around a screen tablet, a laptop, etc. And I think it just really all ties together really nicely, especially, with the Apple Pen, because I think the Apple Pen is better than, no offense. I love you. I love you, Hyun. I love you, Hyun. I swear I do. I love you, Hyun. But I think the Apple Pen is much better than most digital art display tablets, styluses. I feel like I said that in the most complicated way possible, but I hope you understand what I mean. But yeah, I was wrong. I was stupid. I was silly. I was overcomplicating it. I had that stupid toxic art mentality where art isn't supposed to be simple. Art isn't meant to be hard. Art is supposed to be... I didn't realize I had that mentality, but I think I did have a bit of that. And that led me to making these assumptions about Procreate before I'd even tried it, really. I made these assumptions based on what I saw online. I made these assumptions based on my personal, opinions on the art programs I had already tried. So, I was stupid. I was silly. I was dumb energy. Small brain. No wrinkles. But yeah, this is my history with Procreate and digital art as a whole, and why I was wrong, kind of. Because I still think that Procreate has a lot of room to grow, and I still think that Procreate has a lot of limitations. And while simple is good, I think some things shouldn't be so simple, if that makes sense. I think they could do more to focus and, expand upon their brush engine. I think it's fine for what it is, but I think it has the potential to be better and more capable. And give us a gradient tool. Oh my god.